models can you see for the M2M service for technology?
Okay, let's start from in which sectors M2M is getting attraction, and then I'll explain how. There are two main areas in which M2M at the moment is really growing. One is automotive and transport. So this is connected cars that we know, insurance-based services, fleet management, remote monitoring of vehicles and so on. The other one is energy, primarily around smart utility, smart metering. Now on the car, on the connected car, we see the clear move from a connectivity revenues, so a business model based on connectivity in which I pay you for the M2M SIM, the module, and then the connectivity, the airtime, to the ability of building services on top of the connectivity. And the business model is around the services, is selling services into the car. Infotainment is an example at the moment. In many connected cars, there is a bundled package based on internet traffic around certain consumption of content. And this happens on the M2M SIM into the car. The business model can be comparable to the consumption that you have on the internet. So in the home you have a package of, I don't know, 30 euro monthly to have internet access. More or less the model is the same into the connected car environment. Similarly, telematic services into the car. Again, I sell you some type of services based on navigation or primarily based on navigation, and I pay you for the services I provide. In the smart metering, the story is a bit less developed, in a sense that at the moment we are focusing on deployments of smart meter. The question is then what services I can offer on the smart meter. So what services I can offer on the smart metering data, and how do I, which is the revenue model behind that. There are some examples. There are energy companies like British Gas, EDF in France, Enel in Italy, in which they have developed a bit further this concept of energy data management. So I have a smart meter, I have an application on my smartphones which receive the data for the smart meter, and this data enables me to analyze the energy consumption of my house. Which electric appliance is consuming more than others, if some electric appliances require maintenance or not. So the model is that I pay for these services in an application store model like on smartphones. So these are the ones that we see, and we will see more different business models because the different contexts will require different approach. So it's really an exploration task for all the industry in understanding what is the best business model that fits the specific application or the specific sector. For example, if we look at healthcare, now healthcare is complex in its own because it's highly regulated, and also the flow of money in the public healthcare in Europe comes from the government. So who is going to pay what that type of services? How? There will be some element of incentives towards the doctor to adopt certain application or not. So it's a big question, and on which the industry is working, because the industry has realized, and not now, that the large majority of revenues in this world will come for services, applications designed around the use of data. That you sense, you communicate through sensing technology and M2M technology. 60%, I would say, will be around application and services. So it's a big question. Yes, you don't know many scenarios at the moment. Actually, I would say we know some scenarios in some sectors at the moment in which we can concentrate. We can probably try to emulate these scenarios in other sectors. I'll give an example. Go back to connected cars. Now, on the trucks, on the big vehicles, one evolution that is happening is that fleet management solution just not track where you are, but it actually provides certain data to the drivers and certain type of application to the drivers. So you can call it like a telematics type of services for the truck drivers. And the model, the connected cars model somehow can be bring on the trucks too, even if that one is a B2B rather than a B2C like into the cars. You go on private boats, yacht. The idea is more or less the same. I have an embedded SIM into the yacht. I offer certain type of services, which there can be again infotainment, but also can be logistics one. And maybe they can use satellite in combination with cellular. So I think I talked about exploration because I think this is an area in certain sense unexplored. There are things that probably we do not know yet. And is able to be explored because we have technologies there that will enable us to explore. But there are also areas that can, business models at the moment are in place that can be emulated and used in other parts of the earth. Like another example, always about vehicles. On smart agriculture, at the moment, there is a lot of activities in making intelligent or smart the agricultural vehicles. So it's not just about GPS that has always been there for precision farming, but it's about much more, because at the moment you can enable, for example, grain fields with sensors on the field to understand the condition of the land, of the soil, of the plants. You can pull this data out of the sensor on the vehicles in the moment in which I'm on the field and elaborate this data on the actual track. Now, John Deere does that, for example. Class in Germany does that. So, and again, the model is a service-based model. No, I'm not selling you, I'm not taking out of money, I'm taking out of money from the machine because the John Deere machine costs a lot. But what I'm offering there is a services and I'm charging on service base. So the exploration, yes, is important, but we are not in the desert. Yeah, we are not lost. We have at the moment some direction points that we can look at. So looking at these direction points will give us some references, and we are not completely alone. As we will not really throw money to the bin, in my opinion, if we really understand what's happening around us. It's probably a balance of the two. So I will definitely say that the transportation at the moment is a place in which there are a lot of opportunities for mobile network operators, for module vendors, and for software developers, for data analytics providers, particularly for these two. As we move up on the stack on services, there are a lot, system integrators. But it's difficult to exclude sectors because M2M is happening 360 degrees everywhere. You tell me a sector and I tell you there is an application there. Tourism, there is application of M2M. Agriculture, manufacturing, construction, there is everywhere. In our view, probably the next wave after transportation, automotive and energy, manufacturing probably will be an interesting area, because the manufacturing industry, particularly in Europe, is looking for modernization of the production chains, and the use of indoor M2M, fixed indoor M2M, is quite interesting. The other one that we have thought about for a long time, and at some point has to come up, is healthcare. But healthcare has the regulatory legislation implication that they have. But healthcare is happening in the US a bit, for example. What needs to be a bit more understood, that we have not explored much, is, for example, what business model in smart home? No, we will have a lot of connected devices into the home, which these are mesh network connected. The connectivity arrive there, then in the whole, you don't do connectivity revenue here. You do revenue on the service area able to offer. That area, in my opinion, is not very well explored. Like Nest, yeah. A connected device like Nest, and there are many others like Nest around. I think they've not really come out with a strong business model and even with a strong retail model, in a sense, where do you buy this device? Is it an electronics device or is it an energy device? Is it a home device? Can I buy Nest in IKEA, for example? Can I buy Nest in Zara? No, these are all questions that they have not been extremely well addressed. And for connected devices in indoor environments, and not only, is an important question. We talk about wearable devices, for example. One fundamental question there is, where do I buy a smartwatch? What is a smartwatch? Is a mobile phone, so I go to Vodafone, Orange, Polska, I buy from the shop, or I go to the watch shop and buy. So these are all questions that needs to be explored, and this is an area that needs to be understood more in order to also understand what type of business model you can build on top of these devices.